Hey, so April 7th, 2023 marks 30 years of a little known movie called The Sandlot, one of my favorite movies. It had adventure, it had sports, it had the 90s recipe, and today I thought that we could go down memory lane and do a Where Are They Now? The Sandlot edition. To start off, we have everybody's favorite, Mike Vitar, who played Benny the Jet Rodriguez. So in the 90s, he played Benny the Jet Rodriguez in The Sandlot. He also played in D2 and D3, The Mighty Ducks. And he would do a few more small projects in the 90s. After acting in the 90s, Mike would go on to become a firefighter, something that he loves. He would also get married and have 3 kids. Beautiful. Unfortunately, a scandal ended up happening in 2015. On Halloween night of 2015, Vidar and another off-duty firefighter saw a man, Samuel Chang, who they suspected was giving out drugs disguised as candy to children. The two men chased Chang, pinned him down, and choked him until he was unconscious. Chang was badly beaten and had to stay in the hospital for more than a week. Vitar was originally charged with felony assault, but never went to jail. After some time, the charges were dropped and changed to misdemeanor battery. He did not face jail time and was suspended from the firefighting force without pay for 6 months. After 6 months was over, he went back to being a firefighter. Next, you have Thomas Gurry, who played everyone's favorite Scotty Smalls. Smalls, you're killing me, Smalls. And he was in The Sandlot, he was in Lassie, and he was in Black Hawk Down, and a few other small roles in movies. He is currently married with 3 kids. Next we have everyone's favorite, Chauncey Leopardi, who played Squints Palladorus. So he was in The Sandlot, he was in The Big Green with his fellow co-star Patrick Renna, and he was also in The Paper Brigade. And he would also have a role in the short-lived but cult classic iconic show Freaks and Geeks in the late 90s. He is currently married with 3 kids, and he has a marijuana company called Squints Flower. Love it. Also, you can catch him at a lot of cons. He goes to a lot of the cons. Next, we have Patrick Renna. We all love Patrick Renna. He was in The Sandlot, he was in The Big Green, he was on an episode of Boy Meets World, he was in all the things. And he is currently married with 2 kids, and he's a big TikTok star now, and you can find him on TikTok having fun and talking about The Sandlot and doing goofy things, and he even did a video with Lizzo at one point, and he's awesome. We love Patrick Renna. Next we have my favorite, Marty York. Marty York. He was in The Sandlot, he was in a bunch of episodes in the first season of Boy Meets World, and he's done a lot of different things in the acting front in the 90s. Then in the late 90s, Marty York was in a terrible car accident, and unfortunately he died. He died, but then he came back to life. It was that bad. And he's been kind of in rehabilitation since and started doing more non-Hollywood jobs and is starting to wanting to come back into the industry soon. But if you would like to hear more about Marty York's story, he just did a really great interview last year with the folks over at Pod Meets World, a Boy Meets World podcast, and where he talks about his time on Boy Meets World, but also he talks about the car accident and everything. And it would be really great if you listen to that, because you'll find out a lot of information. But yeah, sending a lot of love to Marty York. So glad that he's okay. And I'm so glad that he's here to be around to celebrate this incredible movie. Next, we have Mr. Brandon Quinton Adams, who was a child star extraordinaire in the 90s. He was in everything, right? He was guest starring on all the sitcoms, mostly the black sitcoms. He was in The Sandlot. He was in the first two Mighty Duck movies, and he was on Fresh Prince. He was on A Different World. He was on Boy Meets World. He was on Sister Sister. He was on Moesha. You name it, he was on it. Oh, and did I mention that this man worked with the king? Yeah, he worked with the king. So Brandon basically worked throughout the 90s and a little bit in the early 2000s, but then after the tragedy of losing his best friend Merlin Santana in a shooting, he stopped acting, and he hasn't really been active in the industry as of late, but you can catch him doing a lot of the Sandlot reunions and at cons, and he's just really fine and also really talented and great. We love him. Next, we have Grant Gilt, who played Benjamin Grover Weeks. Then we have Victor DiMattia, who played Timmy. Then we have his brother in the movie, who played Tommy Repeat Timmons, Shane Obezinski. Now, none of these three actors really did anything significant before or after The Sandlot, but they do end up going to the reunions that The Sandlot have. And we have Marley Shelton, who played Wendy Peppercorn, the lifeguard, and she's been in a lot of movies since the 90s. She's been in a few Scream movies, Scream 4, 5, and the current Scream. She was in Pleasantville. She was in Sugar and Spice. She was in a whole heap of movies in the 2000s and 2010s and today. And she's just as beautiful as ever. And she also shows up at conventions. And she also will be at Sandlot reunions. And of course, honorable mention to the great James Earl Jones. And do I even have to explain to you what he's been in? Do you watch movies? If you don't watch movies, that's on you. But you should know by now. The Lion King, Star Wars, literally everything. Coming to America, the most iconic voice. Let's be honest, you know. And yeah, this is The Sandlot in a nutshell. So, a while ago, I heard that we were getting a new Sandlot, either series or movie, that was going to be on Disney+. And it was going to be by the original creator of The Sandlot, and it was going to be either a show or a movie based on The Sandlot, based in a prequel of the creator's childhood from when he was a kid in the 1950s. As you know, The Sandlot takes place in the 1960s, and so this was going to take place in the 1950s. I also heard there was going to be a series that was going to reunite the entire cast of The Sandlot, and we were going to get a new story with them. And I don't know what it was going to be, but it was going to be a series, and I don't know if it's still in the works or not, but if it is, I am really excited to see it. And yeah, if you don't know, when the 25th anniversary of The Sandlot happened back in 2018, the cast went on basically a tour of like baseball stadiums, and they did lots of interviews, and they did a little like 25th anniversary documentary that you can find on YouTube, and they were just doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot of cons, and they were just doing a lot of things, and so they're very active with the fandom. And they're really great guys. And yeah, we love The Sandlot in this house. This is an iconic movie. And fun fact, the late, great Kobe Bryant, this was one of his favorite movies. And he talked about watching this movie a lot with his family. Happy 30th anniversary to such an iconic film. We love it.